My friends, I want to speak straight to your heart today and give you a weighty, life-changing word. You who have been standing in the shadows of hope, longing for a break, a sign, a move of heaven, hear this. Your waiting is over. The moment you've yearned for, the breakthrough you believed for, the answer to your prayers that felt just out of reach, God's timing has arrived. I sense the heaviness some of you carry. Your prayers felt like they bounced off the ceiling. The more you prayed, the heavier the silence seemed to weigh. You've counted the days. You've paced in the quiet. You've wondered if there was purpose in the seasons of delay. And today, I stand with confidence to tell you that waiting was not in vain. It was not misplaced. It was not forgotten. In those hidden, unseen seasons, your faith was being formed, your character refined, your heart primed to receive that which is more magnificent than you dared to imagine. God's timing is never hurried, never outpaced, and never delayed. It is always unerringly perfect. Remember, even a tree must endure the cold before it bursts into fruitfulness. The delay is not denial, it's divine preparation. There is beauty in the winter. There is strength in the endurance. You may feel tempered, refined, stretched by that waiting. But that is exactly where God has built depth inside you. Right now, I want you to lift your eyes, whether they are red from tears, clouded by disappointment, or faint with doubt. Look up and shift your gaze from what you see to what He has promised. As your circumstances seem to hold you still, faith whispers, He is doing a new thing. It isn't what is, but what is coming that should move you forward. Faith sees beyond the silence. It reaches for the promise. You are on the brink of a divine turn, a fresh wave of God's presence ready to roll in. I urge you to cultivate endurance, not the kind that just clings on, but a steadfast spirit of hope that says, I will press on, even in the dark, trusting He has not forgotten me. He is moving in that midnight hour, even when all you feel is stillness. You have stood firm in the waiting. And today, that very faith is the ground upon which you receive breakthrough, be it healing, restoration, reconciliation, provision, purpose, peace. He brings not just an answer, but His best. Now is the moment to open your hands and your heart wide. Receive not with anxiety or hesitation, but with joy and expectancy. This is not a prize you earned. It is the favor of a loving Father who sees, knows, and delights in His children. Let gratitude fill your spirit. Let worship rise. God is calling you forward, not into uncertainty, but into His appointed plan lined with grace. You might wonder, am I ready? Am I worthy? My friends, He has made you ready in the waiting. He empowers your steps, guides your path, sustains you with His strength. Step out with courage. Share your story. Love boldly. Live not in the old season, but in the fresh dance of divine purpose. Hear the prayer from heaven dropped into your moment now. Lord, thank you that your promises are on time. I receive with faith what you have prepared: breakthrough, healing, restoration, guidance, peace. Move in power, Father, in my life, that I may walk boldly into the new you've ordained. Amen. And now hear this. Someone near you is still waiting. Your breakthrough becomes a beacon. Your story, the story of the wait that pressed you into purpose, then birthed breakthrough, is a light that speaks truth. God is on time. His timing has arrived. So as you step forward from this moment, carry a heart full of expectancy. Walk not in yesterday's limitations, but in the bright dawn of divine possibility. You've waited long enough. Now let your life declare, God's timing is here. May faith ignite, may joy overflow, and may the peace of heaven move you into all He has prepared. This version flows without overt headings, maintaining momentum and emotional resonance. If you'd like me to deepen particular illustrations, weave in personal analogies, or extended prayerful moments, I'd be glad to expand as needed. Sources, there are moments in life when everything feels still. You pray, you believe, you keep showing up, but nothing seems to move. Doors stay shut. Answers seem far. It can feel like God has forgotten you, like the heavens are silent. But I want you to understand something deeply today. Those moments, those long stretches of quiet, of waiting, of wondering, they are not wasted. They are not meaningless. They are preparation. In the natural world, a seed is buried in the dark before it ever breaks the surface. Underground, invisible to the eye. It's changing, expanding, softening, taking root. If you looked at the soil, you might think nothing is happening, but something powerful is taking place in secret. That's exactly how God works in the seasons of waiting. When you feel buried, forgotten, invisible, that's when He's doing His deepest work. You are not being ignored. You are being developed. Waiting is where the foundation is built. It's where the inner life is strengthened. You don't need strong faith when everything is going right. You need it when everything is still. That's where endurance is born. That's where trust is forged in fire. That's where you learn to believe not because of what you see, but because of who God is. And isn't it true that some of the most profound things God has done in your life didn't come when you wanted them, but when you were finally ready? Readiness is rarely about your desire. It's about your maturity. God doesn't just want to give you what you've asked for. He wants you to be able to carry it. He wants you to sustain the blessing. And sometimes that means letting you stay in the quiet place a little longer, not because He's cruel, but because He's loving you too much to let you step out before your time. Some of you have been asking, why hasn't it happened yet? But a better question might be, what is God forming in me during this time? Because He is forming something. You are being made stronger. Your roots are going deeper. You are becoming someone who doesn't just survive storms. You grow through them. That doesn't happen on mountaintops. It happens in valleys. And I know it's hard. I know it feels long. But I promise you this. When God does move, when He does open the door, you'll understand why you had to wait, and it will be worth it. You'll look back and see that not a moment was wasted. You were not being delayed. You were being prepared. And now when the time arrives, you'll be ready not just to receive the blessing, but to walk in it, live in it, and bless others with it. That's the power of waiting with God. He never wastes a moment, and He never wastes a life. There is something deeply comforting and powerful in knowing that God's timing is never off. Not by a second. In a world that constantly rushes, pushes, and demands quick results, we often find ourselves impatient with the process. We want the healing now, the job now, the answer now. And when it doesn't come, we question. We wonder if God has forgotten, or if He's delayed for no reason. But the truth that holds steady through all the uncertainty is this: God's timing is always perfect. Not sometimes, not most of the time, always. You see, we are bound by time. We measure our lives in hours, days, years. But God stands outside of time. He sees the full picture, from the beginning to the end. What feels like a delay to us is to Him perfect alignment. While we're looking at the snapshot, He sees the whole movie. He knows the exact moment that will bring the most glory, the most growth, the most lasting transformation in our lives. Think of how many people in Scripture had to wait. Joseph was given a dream as a teenager, but waited over a decade, through betrayal, false accusation, and prison, before stepping into his destiny. If the dream had been fulfilled too soon, he wouldn't have had the wisdom or character to carry the weight of leadership. God wasn't late in Joseph's life. He was preparing him behind the scenes. And when the time came, it all happened swiftly and in perfect order. Or take Abraham. He was promised a son in his old age, but he waited years before Isaac was born. The wait wasn't easy. There were moments of doubt, missteps, and questions. But when the promise was fulfilled, It came at the exact time God intended. Not early, not late, perfect. God's timing isn't just about events falling into place. It's about people being ready. It's about hearts being transformed. It's about aligning circumstances in ways we couldn't possibly understand. Sometimes we think we're ready, but God sees what still needs to be healed, what still needs to grow. And out of love, not punishment, he waits. He waits until the promise won't crush us, until the door he opens won't lead us into something we're not equipped to handle. That doesn't mean waiting is easy, but it does mean it's not pointless. And here's the miracle. When God moves, he can do in a moment what we couldn't achieve in years. One touch from his hand, one word from his mouth, and everything shifts. What you thought would take a lifetime can happen in a day when the timing is right. So if you're waiting right now, don't lose heart. Don't assume silence means denial. It may just mean preparation is still unfolding. Trust that God knows when, how, and where. Trust that he loves you too much to give you something too soon. Trust that when he does move, it will be the right door at the right time in the right way, and it will be. His timing is not only perfect, it's loving, it's wise, and it's worth waiting for. Faith is not blind optimism. It's not simply hoping things get better, nor is it a shallow refusal to acknowledge pain or difficulty. Faith is deeper than that. It is the courageous ability to look past what you see with your natural eyes and anchor your heart in what God has promised. Faith doesn't deny the reality of the storm. It just declares that the storm does not have the final word. So often we are surrounded by circumstances that scream fear, lack, delay, and disappointment. The doctor's report isn't good. The job didn't come through. The relationship fell apart. The silence from heaven feels deafening. And yet, in the middle of all of it, faith rises not because of what is seen, but because of what is known. Faith chooses to believe that God is still on the throne, still working, still faithful, even when everything in front of us says otherwise. This is the kind of faith that moved Abraham to believe he would be the father of many nations when he was nearly 100 years old with no heir. It's the faith that caused Peter to step out of a boat and walk on water even while the wind was howling. It's the faith that led a bleeding woman to push through a crowd just to touch the edge of Jesus' garment, believing that healing would come the moment she did. In every one of those moments, the circumstances were shouting impossible, but faith saw something else. Faith doesn't require proof. It doesn't wait for signs. It hears one whisper from God and says, "That's enough." It clings to the invisible because it knows the invisible is often more real than what we can touch. Faith is the bridge between what is and what will be. It stands in the gap and holds on even when nothing seems to change. You may be looking at your life right now and wondering how it could ever turn around. Maybe you've walked through loss, rejection, financial stress, or spiritual exhaustion. Maybe people around you have even given up on your breakthrough. But I want to remind you, faith is not rooted in people. It's not rooted in feelings. It's rooted in the unchanging nature of God, and that God is a waymaker, a miracle worker, a promise keeper. He does not lie. He does not forget, and he never runs out of options. Circumstances change, emotions waver, but God remains. So keep believing, keep declaring, keep standing, even if the answer hasn't come yet, even if everything looks the same. Faith says he is still working. Faith says my story isn't over. Faith says I may not see it yet, but it is already on the way. The substance of your faith will carry you until the evidence arrives, and when it does, you'll be able to say with confidence, "I believed him before I saw it, and now I see it just as he said." That's what faith does. It sees beyond, and it always sees true. Endurance is not something we naturally gravitate toward. It's not glamorous. It's not instantly rewarding. It often looks like doing the right thing even when nothing changes. It's waking up and choosing to believe again, pray again, serve again, trust again, even when your heart is tired and your hands are empty. But endurance, though quiet and often unnoticed, is one of the most powerful forces in your spiritual life. It is the furnace where strength is forged. It's the pressure that produces depth, and it is essential if you're going to see the breakthrough God has promised. We live in a culture that worships speed and results. If it doesn't happen quickly, we assume it won't happen at all. But in the kingdom of God, timing and process matter. God isn't just interested in getting you to a destination. He's forming someone in you who can carry the weight of that destination when you arrive. Breakthrough without strength is a setup for collapse. So he builds you first, and endurance is part of the construction. There are some victories that only endurance can unlock, not because God is holding back, but because he knows the promise would break you if your character isn't ready. The greater the breakthrough, the deeper the foundation needs to be. Endurance digs that foundation. It teaches you to hold on when everything around you tells you to let go. It stretches your faith. It silences the noise of doubt. It teaches you that your strength doesn't come from outcomes. It comes from. Think of every great story of transformation in Scripture, and you'll find endurance at its core. Noah endured decades of ridicule while building the ark with no rain in sight. Moses endured 40 years in the wilderness before stepping into leadership. David endured betrayal, hiding in caves, and years of waiting before he wore the crown. Each of them could have given up at any point. Each of them had moments where it would have been easier to walk away. But they held on. They trusted the process. And because they endured, they stepped into their destiny at the right time. What if your breakthrough is closer than you think, but it requires just a little more endurance? What if the shift is right on the other side of one more prayer, one more act of faithfulness, one more day of not quitting? You may not feel strong, but endurance isn't about how you feel. It's about choosing to keep going anyway. It's not about running fast. It's about refusing to stop. Endurance isn't glamorous. It's gritty. It's sometimes tear-filled. It often happens in silence, but God sees it and he honors it. Every step you take in faith, even when you can't see the results, is a seed planted, and in due season those seeds will break through the soil. What's been hidden will bloom. What's been promised will come to pass, but only if you don't give up. So dig in, stand firm, keep walking. Your endurance is not just holding you together, it's building the strength that will carry you into everything God has prepared. The breakthrough is coming, and when it does, you'll be ready not just to receive it, but to carry it, sustain it, and give him glory through it. There comes a moment when the waiting ends, not because you've earned it, not because you've finally figured everything out, but because God says it's time. That moment isn't something you can orchestrate or predict. It's not about your feelings. It's about divine timing. And when that moment comes, you must do more than just recognize it. You must receive it and respond to it. Some people miss their moment not because God didn't move, but because they hesitated when he did. You've prayed, you've endured, you've believed, you've walked through seasons of silence and days of disappointment. But now something has shifted. The air is different. The spirit is stirring. This isn't another delay. This is the announcement. Now is the time. God is saying, I've prepared you. I've built you in the secret place. I've refined your heart and strengthened your faith. Now walk forward. What you once longed for is no longer ahead of you, it's here. The door is open, the opportunity is present, the invitation has been extended, and you have a choice to make. There's a holy urgency in this moment, not anxiety, not panic, but a clear and pressing call to move in sync with heaven. Too many have spent their lives stuck between praying and stepping. They ask for the miracle, but hesitate to take hold of it when it comes. They wait for confirmation after confirmation, forgetting that faith doesn't demand 10 signs. It responds to one whisper. God isn't just handing out blessings. He's looking for hearts ready to carry what he's prepared. And readiness doesn't always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like trembling hands and shaky steps. But obedience doesn't require perfection. It requires surrender. You don't have to feel completely prepared. You just have to say yes. Yes to his timing. Yes to his leading. Yes to the open door in front of you. There are moments that mark your life forever. Moments when your response shapes your future. This is one of those moments. Don't let fear talk you out of it. Don't let past disappointments hold you back. Don't let the opinions of others make you small when God is calling you higher. What he has for you is not a maybe, it's a now. Receive it with gratitude, not hesitation. Respond with boldness, not delay. The same God who opened the door will walk through it with you. The same God who brought you to this moment will sustain you in the next. He hasn't brought you this far to leave you stranded. He hasn't stirred your spirit for nothing. So step forward. Speak the word. Apply for the position. Begin the project. Forgive the person. Sow the seed. Start the healing. Say yes to the call. Whatever it is, move. The cloud has lifted. The season has shifted, and grace is already going ahead of you. Now is not the time to look back. It's not the time to play it safe. It's not the time to say maybe next year. Now is the time. You've waited long enough. God's timing has arrived, and all of heaven is watching, waiting for your response. Your breakthrough is not just about you. It never was. What God is doing in your life, what he has brought you through, what he has healed, restored, provided, or redeemed, was never meant to stop with you. Yes, it's personal. Yes, it's powerful, but it's also purposeful, and that purpose reaches beyond your own story. Because what God does for one, he can do for another, and your breakthrough becomes the evidence. We live in a world that's starving for hope. People are silently asking, is God real? Does he still move? Could he possibly do something in my situation? And while theology matters, while truth matters, sometimes what breaks through someone's doubt isn't a sermon, it's a story. Your story. When you testify about how God showed up in your darkest hour, it does something in the heart of the listener. When you speak with tears in your eyes about the time he brought peace in the middle of your storm, or when he opened a door that looked permanently shut, it's not just information, it's a spark. That spark becomes faith in someone else. They begin to believe that if God did it for you, he might do it for them too. That's why the enemy fights so hard to keep you silent. He knows that your testimony has power. He knows that your breakthrough is dangerous because it plants hope, it builds faith, and it reminds others that God is not finished. Your breakthrough isn't just a reward, it's a weapon. It pushes back the lies. It confronts despair. It pierces through hopelessness. Even more, when people see the before and the after in your life, they don't just see your strength, they see God's faithfulness. They realize you didn't get through by willpower, luck, or connection. You made it because a faithful God held you, carried you, and came through for you at the exact right time. And now your life speaks even louder than your words. Some of the people around you may never read a Bible, but they will read your life. They will watch how you respond to pressure. They will notice how you endure trials. And when you come through the other side, not bitter but grateful, not broken but stronger, they'll ask, how did you do it? And that's your moment. That's when you look them in the eyes and say, it wasn't, I waited, I trusted, I nearly gave up, but he came through. And if he did it for me, he can do it for you too. So don't hide what he's done. Don't downplay the victory. Don't pretend it wasn't a miracle just because you don't want to draw attention. That's not pride. That's witness, and your witness matters. There's someone who needs to know it's possible to survive what you survived. There's someone who needs to hear that addiction can be broken, that marriages can be restored, that healing still happens, that depression isn't the end of the story. Your breakthrough is a seed. Every time you share it, you plant hope. You create space for someone else's miracle. You remind the world that God is still alive, still active, still redeeming. So walk boldly in what He's done. Tell the story, even the messy part. Seek life into those still waiting. And keep your heart open, because your testimony may be the very reason someone else finds the courage to keep going. What God started in you won't end with you. Let your life preach what your mouth can't always say. You've waited long enough. God's timing has arrived. And now your breakthrough is proof that He is faithful, proof that others desperately need to